all 10 songs have to come from Lulu. You're up first and go.
Oh no. Oh God. My heart.
Hey, what's going on? This is Barry from the band Shinedown, and you're listening to my weekly mixtape with Brian Colbert. And I say you should listen to it because he's my new best friend, and we listen to a lot of the same music growing up, and you're going to have a lot of really cool, eclectic things on the show that from all genres of music. But importantly, just listen. Have fun.
What is going on, friends? Welcome to my weekly mixtape. I'm your host, Brian Colburn. Joining me tonight, once again, is my good friend, Zack Derby from the Neatcast. Zack, thanks for coming back on the show, my friend.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me That's how it goes, right?
You got the assignment for sure. We are going to talk about something, an argument that has been in the Metallica camp for 30 years. June 4th, 1996 is the date. The date that Load was released, June 4th. It was a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Since that Tuesday, it has been 30 years of this argument that nothing good has come from Metallica since the Black Album. And you and I are here tonight to try to prove that argument wrong in 10 songs.
It's a tall order, but I think it can be done because there are definitely great things that came after the Black Album. If the Black Album is the pinnacle of the mountain, just because there's something after it doesn't mean it's bad.
I'm going to go on the fence here and say that there's stuff post-Black Album that I think is just as good as anything pre-Black Album.
I agree. We're not talking like whole album cover to cover, but individual songs, I agree with that.
And I'll take that one step further. There's one album that we'll get to at some point tonight that if there was a couple of different changes here and there could be an argument for an album I would include against the best of their early days. But we've got a lot to talk about tonight. First thing I want to do is let people know if you are listening and you want to reach out about this episode or chime in for future episodes, you can reach me at myweeklymixtape@gmail.com. You can hit me up on all the social media haunts at myweeklymixtape. You can use the contact page at myweeklymixtape.com, or you can join the Mixtaper community at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. It's free to join, and there are several tiers available if you'd like to support the show a little extra. And I'd like to give a shout out to some of the Patreon mixtapers who chimed in on this very topic because they have opinions of post-Black Album Metallica songs that they feel deserve their just due, and I want to give a shout out to a few of those. Chad Lamassa chimed in with your intro. Zack, he said, Fuel from Reload has to be in the discussion tonight. Seekers chiming in from Australia saying he truly loves The Memory Remains, saying Marianne Faithfull's additional vocals provides an extra layer of gravitas to the song.
100%.
He also says the abuse that Post and Justice for All albums get is funny to him because God forbid a band's sound develops or evolves.
Can't do that. Nope.
And Tom Hutchinson said, listen, Post-Black Album is not as bad as people make it out to be, and he chose The Day That Never Comes from Death Magnetic with an honorable mention for Saint Anger as, and his words, not mine, that damn snare drum makes my heart happy.
That Saint Anger, man, there was such hard, not hate, but there was a lot of criticism from the sound of the snare, and also no guitar solos on Stanger at all. And I still like the album. There's still a lot of good songs on that album. It is different than the previous stuff, but kind of getting back to what you're talking about, some people thought Metallica had already hit their stride and it was downhill after One because they made a music video. And there were people back in the day that went to James and said, you sold out. Why? Because you made a music video? Yeah. And they already had it in their brain. Content be damned. They're just whatever. Music, it's all downhill. I don't like it.
And I am a And Justice for All purist. It's my favorite Metallica album. I've said it on the show before. It is the pinnacle of Metallica for me. Yes, over Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning. I know everybody's gasping right now and screaming. Let me give them a second. to get it out of their system. There's something about the complexity on that album that, Justice for Jason and the low bass in the mix aside, just does it for me. Plus, it was the first Metallica album that I ever got personally for myself. We went to the Sam Goody at the Garden State Plaza in Paramus, New Jersey. I was all set to get the cassette for my birthday, and they were sold out. And my mother said, look, I'll make a deal with you. If you want, you could settle and get the vinyl, and I'll buy you a blank cassette to record it on. Is that okay? Now, remind you, this is at a time when cassettes were what you wanted to have. So I was like, kicking dirt. I'm like, okay. I still have that copy of And Justice for All framed on my wall. And hindsight, always being 2020, makes me wish that every time I went to buy a cassette at the mall, all they had was the vinyl copy in stock and a blank cassette, because cassettes as a musical medium, even though they were convenient at the time, have not aged well, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, people still collect them. There's still, I would still wish I had a bunch of my cassettes and soundtracks and everything that I had. But yeah, for an actual audio format to listen to, not that great. Convenient for size at the time, yes, but it's a downgrade.
It's an 80s version of an MP3 to FLAC comparison. There just is no compare. Now, with that being said, to the mixtapers out there listening tonight, please use those mediums I mentioned earlier, myweeklymixtape@gmail.com or at myweeklymixtape on all the social media haunts, to chime in with what post-Black Album Metallica songs you feel deserve to be in the conversation tonight, because you guys are just as much a part of this conversation as we are, and I love to hear what you've got to say about each and every topic here on My Weekly Mixtape. Now, Zach, I want to lay down a couple of quick ground rules for tonight before we map out these 10 songs.
All right.
I consider these to be both fair and reasonable, and I'll be curious if you feel the same. First off, no cover songs. Let's put Garage Inc. aside here, because the immediate argument will be, oh, you can't even come up with 10 original Metallica songs. You had to do a cover.
Yeah, even if some of those covers are better than the originals, I get the argument, so let's get rid of those. Fine.
Okay. No live versions of old favorites. I know we've got the S&M albums. I know there's been plenty of live albums, but people will automatically say, you're just taking a live version of an older song. So I think we should strike that as well.
I agree. Yes, 100%. I get it. Same argument. Agree.
Okay. And the third one, all 10 songs have to come from Lulu. You're up first and go.
Oh no. Oh God. My heart. Lulu. That's another conversation. That's an album that, God, I did listen to, and I tried to like it. And if I had to choose an album for Metallica that is the lowest of the low for me, that unfortunately would be it. There's a good design there, but just the final product, unfortunately, it hurt. It hurt a little bit.
I have to just tell myself that that's a Lou Reed album that Metallica did as a side project. I don't consider that part of the Metallica catalog. I consider it part of the Lou Reed catalog. Similar to the way that Pearl Jam guested on Neil Young's Mirror Ball, and vice versa with Pearl Jam's Merkin Ball. And against Lou Reed albums, it's not that bad. But against Metallica albums,
I like Lou Reed, but that's not the vocal harmonies of Lou Reed that I enjoyed off that album. I would love to hear that album if it had different vocalist. I bet I would enjoy it a bit more, because I like my previous Lou Reed. I like a lot of his original and older stuff, but just that album, unfortunately, with Lou's voice, it was one of those of no, I can't get behind it, unfortunately. Creative though.
Oh, it was definitely exploring the artistic side for both artists. That's undeniable there. But I'll go out on a limb and say that there might be a chance that The Table doesn't make the cut tonight, But for the
Maybe.
songs that do, because there are a lot of Metallica songs that I feel are strong contenders for a 10-track post-Black album Metallica list.
Okay.
And I don't think the assignment is as easy as it looks on paper. So I am very curious to see how you kick things off tonight with the first song of the evening. What do you got?
First thing I'm going to kick off is something that turned a lot of fans against the band, because in 2000, they came up with a little ditty for a soundtrack for Mission Impossible 2 called I Disappear. And this is when Napster was a big thing. I was end of high school, in early college-ish in this area. And so we were maybe exchanging music of some way or some sort back in the day.
Sure.
I did not get I Disappear because I just didn't see it, but it kicked off a firestorm with Lars being pretty much the main person going after Napster, trying to take them down, and which made a lot of people upset because they wanted their free music. And I understand the reason behind it, but Lars is not always the most tactful individual to tackle this. So I get why, but it wasn't handled well, and it turned a lot of people off from the band. But still, the song itself is a good heavy metal. It kind of goes into like the new metal sound, and it's just a good rockin' song that I enjoy.
I'll just say I saw Metallica in the early 2000s, and when they played Master of Puppets, people were still pretty pissed at that point, and they were chanting Napster during Master of Puppets. And I'm like, wow, people are really, I mean, they paid money to see Metallica only to yell that at them. I thought that was like kind of an interesting moment in time, period of the band's history that I don't know if they understood where things were heading. And I'm not just talking about Metallica here. I'm talking about the fans, the labels, the industry, the people behind the technology. I don't think they saw this firestorm coming, because this was not like cassette tapes in the 80s where people were like, oh my God, cassette tapes are going to ruin the industry because you could record the vinyl and give it to somebody. This was a lot more instantaneous and a lot more widespread. And I think had the industry embraced it sooner than fought it, things might have been different.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with this one, it was a little similar to the cassette tape and recording and sharing with friends. The song was being shared, and before it was even finalized and done. Like, that's how the band heard about it.
Oh, yeah, definitely one of the first times that I recall a song getting quote unquote leaked long before it was supposed to be available.
So that's what sparked their irritation. It's like, how did this even happen? We're not even done with it, and now it's already being passed out. But to their credit, to this day, for a number of albums, they are putting out their songs ahead of time, available streaming, and they are still having number 1, number 2 debuts of their albums decades later. So they've turned the corner on that, and I think they took a much better approach to it than we're Metallica, we're going to fight this tooth and nail and use a big ass hammer. And they got bit a little bit for it, and I think they got humbled and they learned.
Well, the song I Disappear I want to talk about too, because it's actually an important song in the Metallica discography, because it's the only time the band has ever provided a brand new studio recording for a soundtrack. They've been on plenty of soundtracks. I mean, even just most recently, Stranger Things with Master of Puppets. And then if you go back to the 90s, the Spawn movie had DJ Spooky do a remix of For Whom the Bell Tolls. So Metallica's been on soundtracks. But this was the first, and I want to say only time, Metallica recorded a song specifically for a soundtrack. Now, that's outside of the time they paired up with, I want to say it was Ja Rule, a song like Yeah, We Did It.
Yes, and that was when James went into rehab, if you remember that. So he was in for a while, and the rest of the band was going, what do we do now? And obviously they had some previous recordings that were kicking around, and they were approached by whoever was involved with the movie, and they said, hey, we'd like to do a collaboration. we understand James is not available, but Kirk was available. So Kirk played a little ditty for that song. So they used his guitar work, and then they had some vocals that were already recorded by James, and they were able to use that in the song. So that's how they got involved with that. James wasn't even there. Those are already recorded. Kirk was the one who actually recorded something specifically for that song.
And that was not a true Metallica song because it was, again, a collaboration. So
featured them.
Yeah, it was a feature, kind of like Lulu in a way, but different, same, different. I Disappear is currently the one and only time they've recorded an original song for a soundtrack. So I think it's an important part of the conversation. But beyond that, it's still a great song that the band really hasn't embraced live. They've played it some, but not as much as you think they would have.
Yeah, I think, well, it was the last one that they did with Jason, because then he was on the way out at that point. And I don't know, it's a good song, but also it could be just because of its connection to Napster that they may not play it as much anymore. I know they played a lot of it in the early 2000s because it was a soundtrack, it was a new single. They were in between albums, they were reforming a band. It was before they got Rob in there. And I want to say I've heard it live at least once. I've seen them a number of times. But yeah, it doesn't get played that often.
Yeah, I've seen it once, but since 2011, they've only played the song 2 times. Once in 2021 and once in 2023. So the odds are not in your favor if you want to hear that. Same with this song that I'm going to follow up with my first pick of the night. Now, love or hate Metallica. One thing that I think they've done to perfection on every studio album they've ever released is kicked it off with authority. There has never been a Metallica opening song that made me go, yet. And I'm talking including Saint Anger in that discussion. But I'm going to go with the opening track to what I think is the most underrated Metallica album since the Black Album. And that is 2008's Death Magnetic. That Was Just Your Life. I love their album openers, and this song is such an incredible album opener. I saw the World Magnetic Tour in Newark at the Prudential Center. They opened with this. The song is a great way to kick off a concert because it's got that typical Metallica opening where it's slow and it kind of builds up before the breakneck riff kicks in. It felt like an old school Metallica song following up the Saint Anger album. This felt like a reset button for the band musically.
Yes.
And look, I understand that there's a lot of hate around Death Magnetic for the brick walling. I understand the brick walling. I hate the brick walling. I personally prefer the Guitar Hero 3 mix that you can find online of the album over the actual mix because the distortion and crackling in the cymbals and guitars on the actual pressing is a little grating to the ears. But musically, Death Magnetic is probably my favorite Metallica album alongside of Load since And Justice for All.
I would agree with you on that. And it was, I enjoyed Stanger for what it was. And then when Death Magnetic came out, it was five years later, right? 8. It was a reset button. It was a completely different sound. It was still Metallica, but this was another one that I could listen to cover and go, that's a great start. There's great stuff in between. It's a great ending. And again, with kicking it off with That Was Just Your Life, it immediately sounded like Metallica. It wasn't the first single that I heard, which, certainly made people go, what is this? Because they did The Day That Never Comes as the first single.
Yes.
And I liked it. I remember the debut was that was still when people talked up music debuts and new song debuts and everything. And I remember listening to, I think AAF at the time was going to debut it on Boston at a particular time. And I was working in radio, but we weren't doing any of the new stuff. So I ran out to my car. I was like, they're going to play it at 3:05. I got to go listen. And I listened to it and I was like, I like this. And again, similar kind of light sound, but then you get into the heaviness of it. And just lyrically, I loved This Was Just Your Life. The context, it's just a great song. At like just over, I think, 7 minutes. It's a hell of a kickoff.
All right, we've got 2 reasons why you should like Metallica post Black Album. We got 8 more to go. What are you following it up with?
Oh, I'm gonna follow it up with just straight hard rock heavy metal, the way that I kicked off the podcast of Fuel, because it is one, if not my favorite, it's one of my favorite Metallica songs, had been for a long, long time, just because it was fast, in your face, drive your car, like you can't stop, much like AC/DC's Thunderstruck. Like, it's got that driving force behind it that when I'm on the bike or I'm in the car, I don't necessarily want to look down because I know I'm driving faster. I know I'm going faster. And I don't want to know how much. Like, it's subconscious. It's my reaction to it. And is it deep and lyrical? No, not by any means. They have some lyrical songs with a method, a madness, a message behind it that I really, really enjoy. But this is just, it's not thrash metal, but it's nice and fast.
You and I talked about this song on the 90s Guilty Pleasures episode because there are some people out there that just destroyed this song, and I didn't quite understand, and I still don't quite understand the hate for it. Sure, is it thrash era Metallica? No. But as a hard rock era of the band, which I will defend the Load and Reload era, I enjoy it. I enjoyed the fact that the band evolved to a place where I felt like I can listen to their thrash stuff and listen to this rock stuff kind of in separate universes and enjoy Metallica in more than one lane. No pun intended with the Fuel part there.
I think with Load and Reload, what a lot of it happened, because this is pre Napster. We were mid late 90s, and it was a definite shift in their sound. Black Album, you can kind of hear it, I guess, because it was becoming a bit more, radio friendly, I'm going to say. And Load and Reload definitely had more radio friendly, but I also want to say they were taking far more risks. They were trying different things. And even with artists that outgrew me, I appreciate it's their product. I appreciate them going and doing that. They're the creativity behind it. They want to try something new. Go ahead. Kudos to them for doing Lulu with Lou Reed. Not my favorite, but for Load and Reload, there's still great stuff, in my opinion, on those albums. Some slower stuff, some faster stuff. It's a mixture of both, but I think for a lot of people, it was so different than what they expected that they just kind of, this isn't what I want. I want AC/DC to sound the same on every damn album. And for AC/DC, that works. Not for every band. Some bands like to change it up. And Fuel, this also had The Memory Remains on it, this album. Unforgiven 2, they wrote a sequel. Oh my God, those sellouts. How could they? Fixer is is a great song as well. Like, but it's completely different. Bad Seed has a good, like, just chugging beginning that they used at the beginning of cutting stunts. It's a great album overall. And Fuel was a hell of a kickoff for it.
Well, you said something there that I'm going to latch on to. You said there was also some slower stuff on the Load and Reload albums that challenged people, and they may or may not have liked it. And I'm going to go with a song that even the people that don't like Load tend to give this song a pass. Now, I had mentioned at the top of the episode that June 4th, 1996 was the date that all the Metallica fans lost their minds.
Mm-hmm.
June 1st, 1996, my buddies and I went down to Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey for the day to go ride roller coasters. But we were meeting friends there at 2 p.m. So we went to the flea market at the then Giant Stadium parking lot in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And there was a music booth there. And sure enough, at the front of that music booth was a single copy of Metallica's Load 3 days before the street date. Now, this is not Napster level insanity.
No.
But at a time when there was no Napster,
mm-hmm.
The guy was charging $15 for the CD. I knew I could have gotten it for probably $11.99 on Tuesday, but my buddy and I could not pass up the opportunity to hear Load 3 days before anybody else. And our friends that went down with us, to this day, the four of us say we listened to that album all the way down and all the way back, and we felt like we heard history before everyone else. We were the first persons to open up the book and go, where's their hair?
Yes. Physical appearance change from Black Album to Load.
And I'll say this, had they not cut their hair, this is a conspiracy theory. I'm going to go off on, had they not cut their hair, had it still been long, people would have given Load and Reload a better chance. I think it was the look on top of the music was simply too much change for people to handle in a single given moment.
You know, there's a good theory behind that I think would work to a point. I think that is too much change.
Too much
for some
change.
People.
Exactly.
I think it's too much change for some people, but also thinking of how Load sounds and thinking of how the band looked with their long hair, the sound doesn't fit them, I guess, in just how my mind works. Just their long hair, like the 80s metal look with the 90s hard rock approach. I don't know. My brain looks at it doesn't line up. But I do agree with you. I bet some people would have given it more of a chance.
But the song, after all of that, the song I'm going to pick is Bleeding Me.
Oh, nice.
The opening bass line of that song. I love Jason Newsted on bass, and his opening bass on that is so musical and it's hypnotic. And it's one of those monster Metallica songs. It's 8 minutes. It's got the chapters to it, kind of like a Master of Puppets or a One, where there's segmented parts of the song. But this is done in a kind of a fade to black kind of way, but not as intense. And the lyrics, I'd say, are intense. Not as much as Fade to Black with the suicide theme, but still very intense and dark lyrics. And musically, I think this song aligns with a almost Black Sabbath type. There's a bluesiness to it.
Yeah, and Sabbath is heavily influenced by blues.
So as far as I'm concerned, one of my two favorite songs on Load and Reload as a whole, and one that had to make the argument for tonight.
I'm going to have to look at this because now you're having me look closer at the Load album. Oh boy. Okay. All right. So we're halfway through. Okay.
Yeah. You get to take us to the halfway point now.
All right. I'm going to attempt to, I'm going to attempt to walk the line here and thread a needle.
Oh,
because we're not allowed to do covers and live stuff. But this song was a previously unreleased song, and it first appeared on the very first album I actually ever got by Metallica was S&M.
I have a 50-50 guess.
I'm about to say, you got one on either half, one on each disc. I love Minus Human.
Nice.
The build that this song has, it's emotionally very not overwhelming, but it swells, and I feel like I'm just along for the ride with it, going back and forth between No Leaf Clover and Minus Human. I love No Leaf Clover, but something about Minus Human just, it brings me along for the ride. Just, I'm in it. I'm enjoying it. It is a journey as a whole piece. I just love the sound of that song. I can listen to either one. It was almost a coin flip, which one I wanted to go with. But Minus Human off S&M, and I've heard it live once, and it was beautiful.
Well, that puts you and me, my friend, in good company, because from what I'm aware, they've only played Minus Human 4 times, and I've seen it live once, which means you and I have each seen 25% of all of the performances of this song in Metallica history.
I don't have all the song stats of how many times something is played. Like I have looked up there.
Oh, I have setlist.fm open as we're talking, so I'm cheating.
And you can see all that. Gosh, that is crazy. I would think that they would play that more.
Were you at the Garden in 99 for the S&M show?
Yeah, that must have been where they did it.
Because the only other times were the 2 in San Francisco and 1 overseas.
They did No Leaf Clover, I want to say, in Foxborough.
Yes, they've done No Leaf Clover a lot over the years. I mean, at least in comparison to Minus Human, of course.
Yeah, so that must have been, it must have been, if that was the one.
You and I were probably sitting in the same row.
Unless I've jumped universes again. I could have jumped another universe, and I don't know.
Multiverse Zack has seen Metallica. Well, bringing us back to this universe, Zack, that, my friends, concludes the first half of our 10 post-Black Album Metallica songs that you need on your playlist, which kicked off with I Disappear from the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack, followed up by That Was Just Your Life from Death Magnetic, Fuel from Reload, Bleeding Me from Load, and Minus Human from S&M. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. All right, now we got the second half of this argument that you and I are trying to make for 10 songs. And I'm going to be honest, this is actually a lot harder than it sounds for me. I love Metallica. I could probably drop 5 or 6 songs off of Death Magnetic easily on this 10-song list. But I'm trying to spread things out a little bit because I don't want people to think that they only had one good album since the Black Album. And I think there's a lot across all of their albums that need to be represented and discussed tonight. So I think to start this off, I'm going to go with the album that, as of this recording, is their latest studio album. And I'm going to go to 72 Seasons.
Okay.
Keep in mind, James was 59, turning 60 when this song is released. And if Lux Eterna does not bring back memories of their 80s thrash era, I've got nothing for you. This has a Kill 'Em All vibe to it. Now, bear in mind, James is not 20 anymore.
No.
He is not 30 anymore. He is not 40 anymore. He is not 50 anymore. And the vocals have the same heights as some of the stuff he does on Kill 'Em All and in the Megaforce days. And there were some people that are like, oh, this is just a ripoff of Kill 'Em All. Stop! It's a great song. It's fast, it's heavy, and it's one of those songs that when I hear it, I can think if Metallica is around 10 years from now, God willing, and they're still able to do it at the level they are, I don't think this is going to be an album cycle song that they just drop, because there's a lot of songs off of every album that they'll play on that tour and then they'll fall off.
They fall, yeah.
I don't think Lux Eterna is one of those songs, which is why I wanted to include it tonight.
Well, like with anything, when you have a library as massive as these guys, you got to drop some songs off. But also to their credit, and also to Robert Trujillo, when they picked him up, he was a big starter for doing more rotations during your live shows, changing up the music, not playing the same set and maybe changing one or two. It's like, no. Let's really start changing stuff up. Let's not let them know what they're getting. Yeah, we've got 5 songs we know we're going to play, but let's really mess with them and change it up. And Lux Eterna, as you say, oh, they just ripped off Kill 'Em All. Weren't you the people complaining that they're too different from Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets? So then they give you something that is definitely thrash, that is a callback to their origin. I love that song. That is one that I played on repeat just because it was so fast. It was hard hitting. It's 3:20 or something, 3:15. I don't know. It's not even 3:30. It's a fast song, and it's just spit in your face, rock and roll, heavy metal. There you go. It's a great pick.
Well, thank you. And I guess the next question is, where do we go from here?
Oh gosh. Okay. I'm not gonna 100% match your thrash level, but I am going to pop on over. Let's see which way. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back a little bit to the previous album from 2016, Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
Nice.
Which Death Magnetic, when that came out, loved the sound of it. And then Hardwired came out, and I was, again, very similar response. I like these tracks. I like Hardwired. I like the creativity. I like Now We're Dead, Atlas Rise, Spit Out the Bone. There's so many good songs spread throughout this album. But there was one that I really enjoyed. And then to cement it, I loved seeing it live, although the audio was screwed up. But if you go back and you watch the practice performance of Metallica and Lady Gaga performing Moth into Flame
yep.
is such a badass collaboration, which I'm not a massive Lady Gaga fan. My wife loves Lady Gaga, has seen her multiple times, but damn, she is an artist. She's got a great vocal range and she can sing heavy metal. And unfortunately, James's mic did not work during the actual performance. But if you go back and watch them practicing, sounds fantastic. And the album version is fast, heavy, hard hitting. And it is, I think, one of the best songs off that album, which there's a few others I could have went with, but Moth into Flame is my choice off Hardwired.
Could not agree more. And I think you and I are really hitting some of these touch points that are going to anger some of the quote unquote purists from Metallica, because I know the Lady Gaga collaboration was a big point of contention. And I'm here to say that I thought it worked too. And I understand that Lady Gaga is Poker Face and Bad Romance. And yes, she could sing rock just as good as Lizzie Hale from Hailstorm and Taylor Momsen from The Pretty Reckless. And you know what? Metallica has earned the right to do whatever the hell they want to do. They want to do something with Ja Rule, with Lou Reed, with Lady Gaga. They've earned it at this point. They don't have to tour. They don't have to record. I am grateful and thankful that they're still out doing what they do at a level where I am still getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. And Moth into Flame is one of the best moments on Hardwired, alongside of Halo on Fire.
Oh, yeah.
The only thing I'll say to critique Hardwired to Self-Destruct, and this is just me being a nerd here, it's a 2 CD set or 3 CD if you bought the deluxe edition. However, if you take the time of the first 2 albums, disc 1 and disc 2, and you put them together, they still fit on 1 CD. I think they split it apart to kind of give the album sales a little bit of a boost. Kind of the opposite of what they did on Load, because Load, they cut songs short to fit it on the 1 CD. And here, I think they really did not have to split it onto 2 CDs. That's just me being a conspiracy theorist here, but it's my only dig on Hardwired. Put it on 1 disc.
Yeah. And the audio quality from like Death Magnetic to Hardwired, Death Magnetic, we know the audio was a little messed up. I like the content, I think, of Death Magnetic from cover to cover more than Hardwired, but Hardwired quality, sound quality was a step up because they didn't mess it up in post-editing. Whoever made that decision on that album, I think that's my one complaint about Death Magnetic.
I did a whole episode on mastering with Chris Geringer from Sterling Sound, and we do a long sidebar on Death Magnetic. So if you want to go back in the back catalogs and check that out, he is one of the greats when it comes to mastering, and he talks about it in depth, and it's very interesting if you're a Metallica fan. So definitely check that out. And I think next, we've touched on every album but this one. I think it's time.
Lulu?
No. I said that's a Lou Reed album.
Okay.
We're going to go with some Stanger for this one.
Ooh.
And I said it in the beginning. I love album openers. And Frantic is a song from Saint Anger that they've continued to play over the years.
Yeah.
And it's the one song from the album that for me, the drum sound actually works with the song because of the whole frantic tick, 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 tock. It actually sounds like he's having a nervous breakdown in the song. And the energy of the song all comes together. It actually feels like a musical panic attack. And I think lyrically, the way he delivers the vocals, that they're slightly off, the whole my lifestyle determines my death style. It's not the typical James vocal delivery. It's more of a guttural scream than it is the sing scream that he does. It almost sounds like he was trying to go more of the Tom Araya sound of Slayer on the vocals for this song. And there's just something about it that I truly love. And with the Saint Anger album came a DVD where they played it in studio, and it didn't have the same snare sound. And you can really hear the song at its core. And at its core, I can even accept the fact that there's no guitar solo in it. So Frantic had to make the mix.
You know, that's not a bad choice from the album. For me, it would either be, if I had to choose from that album, it would be Frantic. Some Kind of Monster is a good one. I really like that one. The full version, not the radio edit. I know, that those get passed out there, but that and the Unnamed Feeling was also one that I remember really enjoying off the album when it came out. Again, they were experimenting. They were doing a little bit of different things, and it's not the most highly regarded album, but still good songs in my opinion.
And like Tom Hutchinson said, that snare drum makes his heart happy. So hopefully Frantic makes your heart happy for that choice as well.
I enjoy it.
All right, Zach, we got 2 songs left, 1 song each.
Okay. All right. So going back, we're going to go back in time again, because this song, Metallica for the purist, yes, had slow songs here and there. They weren't always 100% thrash metal. This song, I have enjoyed the first time I heard it. It was a different direction. It's about losing somebody that meant a lot to you. Could be friend, could be family member, could be significant other. And the trial and journey that you go through trying to replace that feeling of what they were to you. And I think it's something that we have all felt in some capacity in our lives. We have lost somebody in some capacity, and it leaves a hole. And it's a very powerful song that makes me well up every time I hear it. But it's not always sadness. Sometimes it's joy. But off of Load, the end of the album, The Outlaw Torn. A lot of people question, all right, what could this be about? Was it about Cliff? Was it about something else that the band lost or James lost individually? There's been a bit back and forth with it, but lyrically, how it is at coming in just under like 10 minutes, it is just an emotional slugfest from front to back of the song. I can just sit down and get lost in it. And it doesn't feel like 10 minutes. It's at one point, it's not long enough, but I'm never sitting here going, God, the song's still going on. It's a weird dynamic to be in for me. That one's personal for me.
Well, I'll say this, Zach. Earlier, when I was talking about Bleeding Me, I said there were 2 songs that topped the Load and Reload albums for me. And you just chose the other song. That was going to be the song I was going to close with tonight. You scooped me on it. This song is an absolute monster. It is heavy as anything Metallica's ever done. And when I say heavy, I don't mean musically. I mean the weight of the song is heavy, lyrically, emotionally. The way the song drives, there is so much power behind this song. And I'll tell you this, the first time I heard it fading out on Load, I felt like, man, I needed more. I feel ripped off. And then the Memory Remains single came out, and the B-side to it was the Outlaw Torn, unencumbered by manufacturing restrictions version, which was 1 minute longer and featured a minute more of the guitar solo. And it was everything I ever wanted in that song. It's the version I go to now. And like you said, it doesn't feel 10 minutes. It doesn't feel 11 minutes. This is a song that is so important in the Metallica catalog for me. And it's such an important song just overall in my life that I'm so glad you picked it, and kind of pissed because now I got to come up with something to close this mix out, because that's a home run song right there that tells the whole story. And even if you're a thrash metal purist, I would find it hard to believe that you can listen to this song and not feel the weight that this song packs.
It's a challenge. Go try it. Brian's challenging you. Do it. You can't do it.
All right, so now I have to close this off, and
You can do it.
you chose an album closer, and I respect that. And I told you, Metallica knows how to open an album,
Mm-hmm.
and they also know how to close albums.
They do.
I mean, think about Dyer's Eve, Damage Incorporated. Like, oh my God,
Fixer.
perfection for album closers. And that stayed with the band throughout their career. And I'm torn right now. Not pun intended.
Not the Outlaw.
Tony, not the Outlaw. Because both Death Magnetic and Hardwired have amazing closing tracks. My Apocalypse and Spit Out the Bone. You mentioned Spit Out the Bone earlier. And at the end of the day, I think I'm going to have to go Spit Out the Bone to close things out tonight. I think if Metallica were to have removed the Unforgiven 3 from Death Magnetic, not included it at all, and instead put My Apocalypse in its place, left the Judas Kiss and Suicide and Redemption at 8 and 9, and then closed the album with Spit Out the Bone, Death Magnetic could be a top 5 all-time Metallica album for me. Kid you not. I love that album so much. Mix aside. But Spit Out the Bone is one of those songs that I've watched a lot of Metallica fans say, I hate everything from Enter Sandman on. Although Spit Out the Bone's not that bad. Spit Out the Bone's as close as they've gotten. Spit Out the Bone's pretty heavy. And I haven't really seen much negativity surrounding the track in the Metallica universe. And any post-Black Album song that doesn't have a ton of negativity has to say something. When they've played it live, it's gone over like an avalanche. And coming out of a song with the weight of the Outlaw Torn, you need a song that pummels you like the early days of Metallica did, the early album closers, because that's the argument we're trying to make here, that these songs hold up to their early era. So to close things out tonight, Spit Out the Bone from Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
You know, I can't argue that would not be a good closer, because it does harken back to the early days in a lot of ways. And I think some people write off, newer Metallica because maybe all they do is hear the radio approved edit or the debut of, here's a new song, here's what they did, and they're pushing this as a single. And, some of it, may not hit right with them. I mean, Lux Aterna, I don't know why that wouldn't, but I would imagine if you heard Spit Out the Bone, you go, okay, yeah, maybe there is more to this. I would say the same thing with Beyond Magnetic. You could take some of those and put them on Death Magnetic and maybe even enhance that album. And I know I'm not the only person who thinks that.
You're certainly not, man. There's a lot of Metallica discussions around their post-Black album tracks. And if you have an opinion of songs you enjoy post-Black album from Metallica, I want to hear them. myweeklymixtape@gmail.com. But there you have it, folks, the second half of our 10 songs of why Metallica still rocks post-Black album, which kicked off with Lux Aterna from 72 Seasons, followed up by Moth into Flame from Hardwired to Self-Destruct, Frantic from Saint Anger, The Outlaw Torn from Load, and Spit Out the Bone from Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. Now, Zach, I am sure we could do another 10 songs here.
Without a doubt.
It's always a pleasure talking music with you, my friend. Why don't you remind people where they can connect with you in the Neatcast?
Sure. Typically, you can find us in any of your pod chasers under the Neatcast or the neatcast.com, where kind of comedy, pop culture, podcast, but we also dive into the cryptids, the spookiness here and there, just trying to do general entertainment with three guys that have known each other for 15 years and continue to make a podcast together. And then also over with Podcasters Assemble, we are getting ready for our newest movie season, where we are going to be going through the Terminator franchise. So if anybody has any thoughts on the Terminator franchise and you're a content creator, submissions are always open. Check out probablywork.com for more details on that.
Well, my friend, always a pleasure talking music with you. Can't wait till we do it again.
I'm looking forward to it, and I'm very honored to be one of the people to sit down and chat Metallica with you.
And the feeling's mutual, my friend. To those listening, if there's a song post-Black Album from Metallica that you think we missed, I'd love to hear from you, and I'm sure Zach would too. Email me at myweeklymixtape@gmail.com. Use the contact page at myweeklymixtape.com. You can hit me up on all the social media haunts at myweeklymixtape, or you can join the Mixtaper community at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. It's free to join, and there's extra tiers there if you'd like to support the show a little extra. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen, actually, please leave a 5-star review, drop a thumbs up, leave a comment, do all the things. That way other music fans can find the show. Once again, my name's Brian Colburn. This has been My Weekly Mixtape, and until next time, enjoy the tunes.